Is al-Qaeda capable of this kind of plot, pulling this kind of plot off successfully here and now today?
I don't think so at this point. But if we relax
And
our
why?
vigilance, well, because we're far more vigilant right now. And perhaps we might have swung the other way, where anybody who looks a little bit strange is now a guest of the FBI. But this will fade with time. People really get tired of being so vigilant. So I'm not saying that in a few years from now they won't be able to do it. Right now, today, no.
In the United States?
In the United States, that
But
is, yes.
somewhere else they could. Dr. Gunaratne, do you agree with that?
Sir, there are three reasons why Al-Qaeda has failed to mount large-scale terrorist operation in the United States since 9/11. One is heightened public vigilance. As long as the public are alert, terrorist group cannot plan, prepare, and organize big terrorist attack. Second is that there is unprecedented security, intelligence, and law enforcement cooperation in the United States and by the US agencies with agencies outside the United States, including in the Asian and the Middle Eastern countries. And the third reason is that today Al-Qaeda is being aggressively hunted. When you hunt a terrorist organization relentlessly, that group does not have the time, space, or the resources to plan, prepare, and execute big operation like 9/11. So if you can maintain these three elements, you will not suffer another attack of that scale.
And that's not to preclude the smaller, less expensive types of attacks that we see on soft targets around the world.
Certainly, sir. You will continue to witness attacks of the scale of Bali, of Mombasa, of Casablanca, of Riyadh in the next few years, because Al-Qaeda and its associate groups are still able to plan, prepare, execute those operations, especially in the poorer countries of the world, of Asia, of Africa, of the Middle East, of the Caucasus.
Before September 11th, no single federal agency was responsible for tracking terrorist funds or coordinating U.S. government efforts and securing international collaboration to interdict these funds. Some agencies did track terrorist financing, but for the most part, the effort was disorganized and related to specific cases. The U.S. government was generally reluctant to seize assets or make arrests relating to that financing. The General Counsel of the Department of Treasury explained to the Joint Inquiry that before September 11, 2001, the financial war on terrorism was ad hocism, episodic, and informal, with no mechanism for exchanging information among agencies or for setting priorities. He described errors in participation, perception, focus, and targeting of the bin Laden threat, and his realization as he watched the World Trade Center's towers disintegrate. Quote, "It was as if we had been looking at the world through the wrong end of a telescope. Money had been spirited around the globe by means and mechanisms and in denominations that mocked all of our detection. The most serious threat to our well-being was now clean money intended to kill, not dirty money, seeking to the rinsed in the place of hiding," end quote. The fact that before September 11th, no single agency was responsible for coordinating government efforts to attack terrorist funding does not mean that individual agencies were not tracking funds effectively, identifying terrorists and their organizations, or unraveling their plots by targeting assets. The chief of the FBI's Financial Crimes Section and the director of the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network told the Joint Inquiry that before September 11th, they had the capacity to develop leads on terrorist suspects and link them to other terrorists by examining funding sources. The FBI Financial Crimes Section chief also explained his belief that he would have been able to locate hijackers, Nawaf Hazmi Khalid Ahmadar, if asked through credit card and banking transactions. The Federal and Central Bank started doing linkage analysis of terrorist financing in April of 1999, and first identified an account with a direct link to Osama bin Laden back in February of 2001. The Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement, also known as FinCEN, has the advantage of being able to work with law enforcement and intelligence information, which it contains or combines with bank secrecy, information, and commercial data to produce a product useful to the Department of Treasury and others in seizing, blocking, and even freezing terrorist assets. These capabilities and databases at FinCEN, the Drug Information Center, and across the intelligence community enabled the FBI and FinCEN connect almost all the 19 hijackers within days of September 11th by linking their bank accounts and credit cards, debit cards, addresses, and telephone numbers. Since September 11, 2001, the federal government had taken actions in block and seize terrorist assets, such as smuggled cash, to arrest and indict terrorist financiers, and to shut down front companies, charities, banks, and Hawala conglomerates that offer financial support to Al Qaeda. President Bush gave a new priority to the effort. Quote, "We will starve the terrorists of funding," end quote. The Treasury General Counsel described to the Joint Inquiry the change in the government strategy. And it was the difference between the activity before September 11th and after 9/11 is the difference between a mule and an 8-cylinder Chevy. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is one of Al Qaeda's most senior leaders and is believed to be the mastermind behind the September 11 attacks. Although the intelligence community knew of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's support for terrorism since 1995, and later learned of his links to Al Qaeda, he was not recognized as a senior Al Qaeda lieutenant. In April of 2002, the intelligence community learned that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his group conceived the September 11 plot. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is also known as Muqtada, or the brain. The efforts the intelligence community took against KSM illustrate the difficulties it had in understanding Al Qaeda's activities and the financing that made the September 11th hijackings and their operations successful in the first place.